Hey guys, and welcome back to another Mystery Bits video, the series where we explore mysterious video game stories, rumors, and hoaxes. Many might think the iceberg craze of days gone by has passed, but I'm here to say nay, the mysteries are just as fascinating and wacky as they've ever been. In this video, I'll be covering my first non-Mario iceberg as we dive into the mysteries and other lesser-known stuff of Friday Night Funkin'. Specifically, I'll be tackling mysteries on this iceberg made by Chris A0101 over on Reddit. For those new to these, or at least to how I cover them here on this channel, basically these icebergs are filled with mysteries, rumors, and just other stuff you may or might not know about just yet. And I do my best to try and explain a few that I think are the most interesting. Anyways, with all of that said, smash that Funkin' like button, it's time to dive deep into this Friday Night Funkin' iceberg. Alright, so starting off at the top of the iceberg, most of the stuff here is pretty vanilla, so to speak, but hey, a good place to start things off. So first up is Week 7 Exclusivity, and just like it sounds, this deals with Friday Night Funkin's Week 7 update being exclusive to Newgrounds. When the Week 7 update was dropped, it was meant to be a timed exclusive over on Newgrounds to help funnel more traffic their way, and more traffic they sure got. But despite it being labeled as a timed exclusive, although the update has made its way unofficially to other parts of the internet, even several months after it was dropped on Newgrounds, as I'm making this video, the official release of Week 7 is still only on Newgrounds, with the itch.io page still mentioning that it's a timed exclusive. Now, I believe around the time Week 7 was released, one of the developers, I think Ninja Muffin, mentioned it would remain a timed exclusive to Newgrounds until the Newgrounds page for the game became the #1 or #2 search result on Google when searching for Friday Night Funkin'. And as of me searching right now, it does seem to be sitting pretty comfortably at the #2 spot, and apparently Google suppresses Newgrounds results or something. But despite being at the #2 spot, there's still no official release outside of Newgrounds. And honestly, at this point, this update may very well just remain an exclusive there forever, as Ninja Muffin did go on to say that they gave Week 7 exclusivity to Newgrounds as a showing of love to the site. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the timed exclusivity just becomes eternal. Although mods for Friday Night Funkin' have been made, including the boyfriend's parents, as of yet, they haven't been officially shown, mentioned, or even referenced, at least not in the game. Not all too much is even known about the boyfriend's parents, but according to Ninja Muffin, both of his parents work in accounting. Now, this isn't a whole ton of info, but it does rule out some stuff like them being dead and the boyfriend being orphaned and such, so at least there's that. But with a whole bunch of weeks coming in the full release of the game, I'd be surprised if we don't see an appearance of his parents, at least at some point along the way. The old BF icons refers to a set of heads-up display icons for the bar at the bottom of the screen for the boyfriend as seen in the prototype version of the game made for the Ludum Dare Game Jam. These were obviously updated for the later releases of the game, but what's super cool is that you can still actually toggle between the current graphic as well as the old icon simply by pressing 9 on the keyboard during a song. Not a typical thing you see in most games to still use some prototype content like this, so it's really nice to see here. One age-old Friday Night Funkin' mystery is whether or not the boyfriend speaks English. Well, thankfully, actually the answer is quite definitive. First, we need to dispel the notion that the boyfriend's beeps, bops, and boos are any sort of organized language. Ninja Muffin has gone on record to say that it is not a language, and that the boyfriend literally just makes those sounds because he feels like it. Furthermore, onto the question of what language he does speak, apparently it's just English. Also, I couldn't find the tweet or whatever it was, but I've seen several people mention that one of the developers stated that boyfriend just beeps and boops to avoid talking to people and have actual conversations. And if you needed any further confirmation that the boyfriend speaks at least a little bit of English, he also says stuff like yeah and go Pico in the game, so there's that too. This next entry dives deeper into the lore of Friday Night Funkin', specifically with Senpai, the fella seen in Week 6. So if you're like me and didn't really pay attention to much of the lore in this week, you might be surprised to learn that Senpai is actually the soul of a person that was trapped inside a dating simulator game that the girlfriend plays by Daddy Dearest. Why exactly he trapped him isn't currently known, but it's speculated that the Senpai's circumstances were similar to that of the boyfriend, in which he was trying to court the girlfriend against the wishes of Daddy Dearest. The spirit of Senpai also goes on to mention that he isn't the only person to be trapped inside the game like this either. It's unclear just how long the spirit of Senpai has been trapped in the game for, but just based on him being desperate enough to try and defeat the boyfriend to escape and leave him trapped in his stead, I'm sure it must have been for quite a long time. There are also some other theories out there that suggest that the rest of the weeks in Friday Night Funkin' see the boyfriend already trapped inside his own game. This might explain why in his game, the girlfriend's parents are seen as demons despite her looking quite normal. There's a bit more to this theory by Venomous Braindead S on Reddit, so if you're interested in reading up more on it, I'll have it linked for you down in the description below. Next up here is a so far scrapped fighting mechanic that was apparently once planned to be implemented here in Friday Night Funkin'. Now I've talked about this in my Lost Bits videos on this game, so if you've watched those, you probably already know about this, but if you haven't, be sure to give those a watch after this video, but let me bring you up to speed here. Basically, Ninja Muffin had once mentioned that a fighting mechanic was planned to be added to the game, but this has been currently shelved. Furthermore, there have been several unused sprites discovered for the boyfriend as well as Daddy Dearest that are believed to be remnants of this scrapped mechanic. For example, the boyfriend would throw his microphone, dodge incoming attacks, and this here sprite of Daddy Dearest kicking is believed to be one of his scrapped attacks. As of making this video, it's unclear what the fighting mechanic would look like or how it would function, but fingers crossed, hopefully it, or at least some remnants of it, get brought back in the full release of the game. I think it could be a really neat mechanic. Although many people believe that the monster is based on Lemon Demon, Neil Cicieraga's musical project behind classics such as The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny, this isn't actually the case. When asked on Reddit whether or not the monster is in fact a reference to Lemon Demon, Ninja Muffin quite explicitly denies any sort of connection between the two. Now there are some pretty obvious similarities between the two, and Friday Night Funkin' features lots of Newgrounds legends, so it's not surprising many fans were quick to make this link. Despite the denial of the connection, however, I think the damage has already been done, as even just searching the term Lemon Demon already results in many of the results being the monster rather than the actual Lemon Demon himself. I mean, I guess that's just what happens when you make a demonic-looking character with a lemon for a head. Alright, next up, let's talk about Cassette Girl. Now this is a currently unimplemented character that was announced to be coming to Friday Night Funkin' what seems like forever ago. There's not all too much known about Cassette Girl yet, as she hasn't been featured in any official animations or games yet, and the only official media we have so far are a few bits of artwork by her creator Soft Dawn. Seeing as how she's the third character in the row to be announced here after Pico and Tankman, who have since been added to the game, it's very likely that she was planned to be added next, but will now likely just be released along with the full-ass release of the game. And as you can see here, she isn't the only other currently unimplemented character either, as Hank J. Wimbledon from the Madness Combat series also hasn't been added in yet. Just the same, I'm sure we'll see his appearance in the full game as well. This next one is pretty self-explanatory, and I guess not all too much of a mystery at all, but rather it's probably on here cause some of the unofficial and bootleg Friday Night Funkin' stuff you can find around the internet is pretty cursed. Now sure, there's a bunch of stolen artwork, and some of these stores not even noticing that their stolen content is a meme. The unofficial plushes are the most cursed, I think. Although some of the bootleg plushes look alright, I suppose, some just look pretty goofy. Myself and some of the Minus World fellas actually made a whole video of us checking out some Friday Night Funkin' bootleg merch, so I highly recommend you check that out if you'd like. But back to the goofiness of the unofficial Friday Night Funkin' plushies, I think Friday Night Funkin' artist Phantom Arcade says it best in this video that he tweeted out.
Look at his eyes, his fucking weird tooth. I mean, Jesus, not bad for a bootleg, I guess, but then, dude, no brim!
And last up for this video is Week 54, perhaps one of my favorite unused graphics that's left over in the files of Friday Night Funkin'. This is another thing I've covered in my past videos, but for those that haven't seen those yet, Week 54 prototype.png is an unused image in the files featuring a 3D render of what appears to be the boyfriend. This is obviously the developers toying with the idea that the game will evolve into the 3D space once Week 54 rolls around. Now personally, I think this is just the developers having a giggle, and I don't see the game taking this route, but who knows, maybe this will age really poorly, and in a few months we'll have a weekend Friday Night Funkin' running in 3D. Hopefully I am wrong, cause not gonna lie, that would be pretty dang cool. Now these are only some of the entries on the deep Friday Night Funkin' Iceberg, so although that's it for this video, be sure to let me know with a like or comment if you'd be interested in me checking out some more of the iceberg in a second video. Till then though, be sure to check out some of my other Friday Night Funkin' videos if you haven't already, and as always, thank you all so much for tuning in today, and I will see you in a bit.